Thanks for staying with us here on Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We're keeping a close eye on a federal courthouse in Brooklyn, New York, where jury selection is underway right now for singer R. Kelly's racketeering and sex trafficking trial. If he is convicted, he could face decades in prison. Now, Kelly has denied the charges. Hundreds of potential jurors expected to appear in the coming days for voir dire. And as the lawyers whittle down the pool to 12 jurors and 6 alternate jurors, we understand that opening statements are tentatively set to begin on August 18th. The nearly week-long break between jury selection and the trial start date is because R. Kelly switched legal teams in June. Remember us telling you about that? Well, the judge granted the request by his new attorneys in fairness to them to have more time to prepare for the trial. So now let's get you the latest on how the jury selection process is going from Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae, who is outside of the federal courthouse in New York.
Julie, federal court is in a break of sorts. They are not showing individual voir dire to journalists so they can talk to some of those potential jurors privately. We know some of those issues that they've already been asked about in their jury questionnaire could be very personal, having to do with their feelings on sexual abuse and sexually transmitted diseases and whether they have that in their background. But today, at the beginning, when the first pool came into the courtroom, the defendant there with his attorneys facing them, he appears nervous. He appears like he's fidgeting and really uncomfortable sitting in that chair in front of these people who will eventually, some of them likely, to determine his fate in several weeks once this full trial gets underway August 18th. I noticed that he did make eye contact with the jury while they were being questioned generally while those introductions were going on. But I also noticed that he looks markedly different than we've seen him in other hearings that have happened. He looks very clean shaven. There's almost little or no hair on his face. His haircut is very low. He's wearing glasses and a suit, of course. We know he's been in federal detention since 2019. So this is him wearing his clothes that are personal to him, even though he is typically not wearing them. We even saw his defense attorneys bringing in a suit this morning to hand over to the court officials to pass along to him. This court is looking for a jury of 12 with 6 alternates. Judge Donnelly today said that she's trying to get a pool of 40 qualified jurors who will then move on to the phase of allowing these attorneys, the ones who are defending Robert Kelly and the ones who are defending or prosecuting this case, the federal U.S. attorneys, to exercise their strikes and whittle that number down to the final panel. This jury selection, of course, continuing here in Brooklyn, Julie.
Julia Janae reporting there for us in Brooklyn on R. Kelly's case. Wow, a lot to talk about. Let me bring in our legal analyst guest on the program today. Still with us, joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer and former prosecutor and trial attorney Walter Gabriel. Great to have you both. Let's just start, please, with how R. Kelly is looking. Josh, I want to go to you on this one. Julia telling us that he looks nervous today. And I feel like that's a bit of a change from what we've seen in the past with him and his adamant denial of these allegations over and over again, and being perceived by many accusers as very cocky and very confident. And whoa, that was a bit of a surprise. Your thoughts, please, Josh.
It's a big change from his last trial. You know, people were just, oh my gosh, there's so much evidence. And he walked. And people were really upset at a system that, for many, it appeared that big money and great fancy private lawyers just get rich people out of stuff. It's not quite that easy. As criminal defense lawyers, you deal with what you've got. It's like an oncologist. I didn't give you cancer, but we're going to do our best to get you healed. And this case is profoundly different from his prior case. The feds do not take prisoners. The victims in this case, represented by a dear friend and occasional contributor to Court TV, Gerald Griggs, are thoroughly represented in making sure that their voice is going to be heard. And this is a big deal trial. Someone's headhunting, and the government, the U.S. government, is going to put everything up to try to convict Mr. Kelly, if only to send the message: money can't buy you innocence.
Well said, Josh. Very well said. Walter, my next question for you is with respect to his new legal team. I really feel for them. They've got a tough job and not a lot of time to do this job well, because he switched at the last minute. I mean, in June, this switch happened, and these cases have been lingering and lingering. You heard Julia telling us 2019 is when he first became incarcerated on these allegations. Tell me, what do you think his legal team is doing to prepare for this? I mean, can you kind of give our viewers a really good idea of how many hours are going on behind the scenes to get ready for opening day mid-month?
It's hard to imagine, Julie, what this defense team is doing. Just being hired by R. Kelly, I believe a week ago, for a federal trial with this level of charges that are against R. Kelly, the complexity of these charges, the witnesses that are against him, they have a lot to prepare for in a very short amount of time. And jury selection is an important part of a criminal process. And so for this team to just be brought on and as we speak, selecting a jury and trying to whittle this down to a jury of 12 who's going to judge his guilt or innocence in this case, that's a tall task for his defense team. That has to go into why R. Kelly looks visibly nervous in this trial, and which is, as Josh said, a very stark contrast to what we've seen in the past.
Sure. Great points from you as well, Walter. Josh, let me go back to you on this one. We heard that R. Kelly is making eye contact with those in the jury pool. So good for him. Clearly, he's been prepared well. Talk to us a little bit about what do you think both sides are doing in terms of strategy with the voir dire and making that really good first impression.
Is it good? Mr. Kelly, it's impossible to escape his celebrity. It's impossible to get away from the idea of who he is and what's going on here. Federal voir dire is very different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and state to state, and oftentimes much more restrictive. So the judge in federal court has a lot of discretion over, this is my court, I'm going to run it this way. And while normally in a solid jury selection, you're trying to pre-charge that jury with the issues you want them to fall on your side with, in this case, we're probably going to have a shortened schedule. Judge wants to get this done. They're going to keep it really tight to prevent appellate issues, because anytime you're trying a major case like this, foreclosing appellate avenues through a messy voir dire is tops on the mind of the prosecution. I echo what Walter said about how much work this new crew is putting in. It's basically shutting down your practice to prepare for one trial that's coming up. You need to dedicate that time in planning. There's a voluminous amount of documents to just get to consume, to figure out how they work together along with the testimony, that while you have a good idea what people are going to say, you got to be ready for what really comes out and bites you in trial. Setting this up is a terrifying experience when you've got lots of time. Switching horses midstream and then jumping them in, wow. I would love to have known what the conversation was when he terminated his prior counsel, because very often that reflects the status of the case more than anything else.
Right. And he seemed to have a really good rapport with them. It was kind of out of nowhere. And I think it seems like, sort of reading between the lines, or it seems like he may be a difficult client to deal with.